Hey everybody, welcome to another Unity tutorial. It is quite late, and so I want to get this video into you real quick about the pause screen. And just going to go through the quick process here. Nothing too fancy, but I'm going to go over some kind of important things you should know about how to pause. Pause time. Not quite, but yeah, we'll get there. So this is going to be a 2D project, 2D URP, and nothing too fancy. This is just going to go over the UI and the functionality. I'm not going to go into too much because I want to keep this down to just a few minutes of video, maybe 10 at most. But so first demonstration of what this does. You can see it here in the game, and there's nothing in the background, and then I'll get into the reason why I got numbers counting here. So hit the P key, and then the letter P key, you get the UI that shows up, and this will stop, or pause the game I should say, not stop but pause the game, and then if you click on the button, resumes. Okay, so there we go. Now kind of one of those things where things you should know is that, now I'll get to the code in this in a second, but as you see, the numbers still counting even if I have the game paused. Okay, and so pausing the game doesn't necessarily, everything is paused. If you're dealing with calculations in the background, or if you're instantiating enemies or spawning enemies, and it's happening over time, that's not going to stop. It'll stop the movement of your player, movement of certain objects, like in physics, I think, and it won't stop the animator most of the time. You have to make those decisions in code. So this is just to stop all physical movement on objects, and I think if you indicate it like music as well, but you have to really put that down in code, I believe. So going into this is that we're going to have a couple simple things here, and we'll go into the hierarchy. And one, we have a panel, and I'll turn this on real quick, and in case later I want to add in an image in there, this area here, I'm going to just have it kind of transparent using the alpha channel. Then some of the text messaging here, where it just indicates that the game is paused, and a button to resume the game. Okay. But for the intents of this functionality, this is going to be turned off. And in the code, this is the script. And in the update, if the letter P key is pressed down, we'll pull up the function here where it's, I'm going to call this area here the block of code, and we're going to turn the panel on for the pause screen on, and we're going to hit the time scale to 0. Okay, and then the exact opposite, when the resume button is pressed, we're going to turn off the UI for the pause screen, and then resume time to 1. Okay, that won't fix everything. So if you're wondering why isn't this working, because you have to do a little bit more than that. So 1, turn the canvas on and make sure your panel is off instead. So I just caught that. So I knew exactly what I was doing. So number 2, okay, take the code. You want to make sure that using the Unity engine library is in there. Okay, and make sure you make a public variable for your game object, which is your pause screen UI, or the panel, or the buttons and text and everything you saw before. And this is just for testing purposes, and you don't really need to put this in, but if you put public integer and label that integer as a number and then set it to 0, this is what increases the number down here and keeps counting numbers, because it's never going to hit -1 if it's always going up 1 number. Okay, and it's going to do that once per frame. But that's just more of me teaching you how to understand that when you pause a game, it doesn't necessarily always mean the game is paused. There's other things happening in the background still. Okay, so you don't need this area here. Okay, this is just for testing. this is what's most important. So it's basically saying if you push the P key, you're going to call up this function here. And that function is defined as this. And you're basically saying turn on the pause screen and set the time to 0, like stop time. Although not everything in time is stopped, okay? Then when you push the button for the resume, it's going to call this function particularly. It's going to shut off the pause screen and resume time, okay? Now where you place that in there, you always make sure you have an area for your scripts. So you would go to your panel. You would go to your canvas, drop this, because you don't want this turned off in your panel if your panel's off. If you have your panel off with the pause script attached to the panel, the script for the pause button or anything related to pause will be shut off as well, okay? And then for canvas is where your pause script is going to reside, okay? So after that, create a simple panel, and it's just going to be attached to your canvas. When you create the panel, either create your canvas first and then the panel, or whatever UI you create first, there's going to be generally automatic creation of a canvas, okay? You're going to probably have to center in your text and your buttons and everything, label them, colorize them. They're not always going to be always this color, except for this one. This is probably standard UI design, so that's going to be your generic. So label it, design it how you want, and then when you create your button, you'll have to add that in there, probably more likely by yourself, which would just go to Game Object, UI, and then I went to the Legacy, and then go to Button, okay? You'll have to do the same thing for text if you just created the panel, simple as that. Go to your panel, go to UI, Text Mesh Pro, that's what I used, and then that'll create that. You'll have to go in there later and then label it, colorize it, do what you want. Add fluffy bunnies, I don't know, whatever you want, okay? And then same thing for your button, you expand it, and then go to your text, same thing, okay? So that's pretty much the UI. Once you're done, add flowers, bunnies, dragons, I don't know, whatever you want for the panel, and you can always add in an image here to the source image and its background, and throw whatever you want in there. Nothing's showing up here because the alpha channel has been basically turned off, okay? So after that's all done, make sure you go to your button, go all the way down. So right now I had a function in there. So on click, drag your canvas in there, and because your script is already attached, go to your pause script, and then go to pause, okay? Actually unpause for the button, okay? The button's gonna unpause, okay? Now the canvas will remain on, and the reason why is we need to run that code. So if we play the game, if the canvas is the holder of the script, per se, like the governor, if I hit the P key, it'll bring it up, okay? Now you could always create like another, part of code in there that would say, like, if you hit the letter P key twice, it'll turn it off, or if game is paused equals true, you can write that in here. If it's true, turn off, set pause screen to set active false, and then all this information in here. But this is going to be kind of a little bit more simpler. So if you hit the P key once, stop time and turn on the pause screen UI, and then resume it by clicking on the button. So pretty much that. So once you're done with that, go to your button, select the pause script for unpause, and that is pretty much it, okay? So yeah, regarding the code, it's pretty simple. Just know that it's not going to stop everything. If you're spawning enemies or spawning bullets, I saw it once in a game I was developing where the game is still spawning enemies. In fact, the enemy is waiting there for you. It's just the game is paused, but it's not stopped. And as you can see here, the whole entire time the numbers have been generating. So in some aspect, time has not been paused. It's still running in the background. So just know that, especially if you're accruing, if you're increasing or gaining more data in the background, just know that it's going to affect performance. It may even crash if you leave it, like, say, pause for 2 hours. Maybe you had to go walk your dog or something. I don't know. But yeah, so just keep note of that, because if these were enemies that I was spawning like once per frame, it's a lot of enemies waiting for you when you get back. Right now it's counting at 30,000. If they're flying enemy saucers, good luck to you. You gotta shoot them all down. You can do it. So that's pretty much it. Couple things is make sure you have the correct library selected or inputted in here at the top. Make sure you have the proper public functions. That way you can drop it in real easily. Make sure that your functions are public. If you do not have, if you just include void pause, it's not going to show up in the button. It won't show up here. You'll get to the pause script, but it won't be in there. This won't show up here. So make sure that public void pause, so it's available to the public per se, and then you should be able to work with that. So that's pretty much it. So yeah, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, and hit the little notification bell. That way you can find out if more videos are showing up. Please go ahead and subscribe. It helps out a lot for not just me, but for you, to show you that these videos are valuable, that they're helpful, and I can keep doing more. So, and if you have any questions, please send a comment. I do try to respond to your comments. And if this worked well for you, leave a comment and say thanks. It helped a lot. So, all right, you have yourself a great one. Thank you.